Hi, everyone. Thanks for spending some time with me today. My name is Stefan Zhu. I'm the Senior Director of Security Analytics. I think that's my title now at OpenText Cybersecurity. And I'm so happy to be with you today to sort of talk about our latest product launch of Core Threat Detection and Response. I'm here from OpenText. As you can see here, OpenText has a broad portfolio of cybersecurity capabilities to help you protect, detect, and respond to threats. Everything from backup and recovery systems to email security. I'm going to focus today on our enterprise security product portfolio, which you see here. And if you can just look in the lower right where you can see security operations, this is, of course, the part of our portfolio that helps you detect, find those threats, and gives you the ability to respond to those threats before it's too late. We have a number of products in this category, but I'm here and super excited to talk with you today about our latest release called OpenText Core Threat Detection and Response, which you've seen from the title already. We're super excited about this product because it features some of the best detection capabilities we've ever released, and we are so proud of them that I wanted to specifically talk about what is widely understood to be one of the most difficult use cases to detect. We, of course, solve a number of use cases, everything from APT to advanced attacks. But what I want to talk with you today is the use case known as insider threat. This is when the bad guy is inside your network. So either they're a disgruntled employee, or maybe there's someone that has sort of snuck in and infiltrated your company and they're trying to steal state secrets or other corporate secrets from you, maybe to take with them to the next job. Or maybe it's just simply an unintentional employee who doesn't mean to do anything malicious, but he's just accidentally presenting a risk to your company. Now, insider threat is widely considered to be one of the most difficult types of use cases to detect. And that's because if you think about it, the bad guy is already on the inside. So what you have is you have an authorized user who's running authorized applications, who's accessing data that he or she is already authorized to access, but they're still doing bad things. So standard access control does not work. How do you find these bad guys? And it is hard. That's why it takes over 80 days on average for a typical company with existing technology to be able to find them. And the ramifications can be quite costly, as you can see here. So you've got an insider threat, really hard to detect, really costly if you don't detect them fast enough. So what can you do? Well, as I said, I'm really proud to talk about threat detection and response, our latest product, and what we've been able to do with our analytics to be able to find these insider threats and other advanced attacks before it's too late. And I'm going to share with you a number of examples throughout this conversation, just to keep it real and just to sort of show you some things that we've been able to find in the past with the same detection technology. This particular example here is from an internet online retailer that we've worked with for a number of years now. And I want to sort of focus in on a number of things here in this slide here. And if you think about the insider data theft here, what we had is, and I love this example because it shows how creative someone who's highly motivated can be. I guess this employee felt that a DLP system might be tracking file copies or other sort of traditional programs that you might use to sort of move some data to a USB drive. So he was very creative. What he did was he used a disk partitioning tool to actually back up and copy the entire sort of drive. So he didn't do standard file copies. He didn't, use standard methods to be able to move things to the USB drive. He just copied partition to partition. And in fact, it turned out that he actually looked at a number of HR records and other sort of very sensitive information, and that's what he copied with him. And our capabilities in detection was able to not only detect it, but we were told by this particular customer that detecting this event actually avoided multi-million-dollar GDPR fees that would have been incurred upon them had this gone undetected. So that was really good. This particular customer actually has been with us for a number of years, and we've actually found multiple red team attacks for them. So, notoriously hard, difficult to detect, but we're able to sort of find them. So that's one example. I want you to remember that example. Just keep it in your head. Someone on the inside used a dispartitioning tool to be able to do this copy, and we were able to find it. We'll hear more about this particular use case later on. Here's just really quickly. Here's another one. This is a particular company in the finance space, and we were able to use our detection engine in TDR to be able to do a number of things, including a security scanning accounts, including attacks against the C-suite employees inside their company to be able to try and sort of crack into their accounts. Very sort of sophisticated, happened on the inside. We were still able to sort of find it. And the goal of our product, the goal of our detection really is to help you save time. Now, I don't need to tell you about the human capital crisis that we have. We don't have enough threat hunters. We don't have enough people in our SOC to be able to sort of comb through all of the data. We have far too many alerts. Alert fatigue is a real thing. So what can we do? The goal of the mathematics that we've built into the TDR product is to do this compression that you see here. What we want to do is we want to go from a large number of events, billions and billions, to a small number of high quality leads. In other words, the goal of the analytics is not to give you more things to investigate. That would be the opposite of what we want. What we want to do is we want to tell you where to look so you have fewer things to investigate. And so this compression, going from billions of events to a small number of high quality leads, really is why we've developed TDR. We want to be able to use our behavioral analytics, which features some unsupervised online machine learning to be able to sort of find the most suspicious behaviors. And we need to be able to sort of combine multiple clues together to tell you exactly where to pay attention. And there's actually a bunch of math that I could sort of spend hours and hours talking about. I'm not going to be able to do that on this quick webinar, but I did want to actually at least give you a simple high-level overview of the 3 steps that TDR uses to be able to sort of do this compression, to be able to take all of the noise in your system and tell you where to look and where to investigate. And as I said, there's sort of 3 steps. The first step is sort of to take a step back and think about the problem of identifying the most suspicious things in your environment as almost like an enterprise version of Where's Waldo, right? If you think about it, that's exactly the case. You have all these machines in your environment. You have all these users in your environment. You have all these accounts. You have all these files. How can you tell what's the most important thing to pay attention to? And the way to do that is step 1, I want you to think of all the normal behavior that every single one of these users in your system might be engaging in. And I want you to think about representing that normal behavior as a number. So everyone, of course, gets a different number because everyone is different, right? Every user is different. Every user is unique. Every machine is different. Your Active Directory server is going to behave completely different than someone's notebook, right? But they all, if you can represent normal behavior as a number, obviously everyone will get a different number. But whatever that number actually is, it's important to think of that as a number that represents normal behavior. So that's step 1. Everyone gets a number. That number represents normal. Now, if you think about it, if you have a way of taking current behavior and representing that as a number, then what you can do is you can take the number that represents normal and you can subtract from that the behavior, the number that represents current behavior, right? So what that means is that if someone is behaving normally, then the 2 numbers are the same. And so that difference, when you do that subtraction, approaches 0. What that also means, however, is that if someone is behaving abnormally, then the difference between the current behavior and the number that represents normal behavior, that difference becomes really big. And what that happens is that everyone that behaves normally kind of grays away, fades away into the background because the difference approaches 0. And everyone who's behaving abnormally doesn't fade away. And that's how you find Waldo, right? So that's the first 2 steps, right? Step 1, get a number that represents normal. Step 2, subtract from normal behavior the current behavior so you can find the most unusual behaviors inside your entire system. Now, I said there are 3 steps, and here's the third step. The third step, and this is really important, is you need to be able to stack multiple behaviors together to find the most important places to look. And this is really important because you don't want to generate noise. You don't want to generate false positives. And this stacking is really the secret. So let's step through a simple example. Let's suppose Anne Funderburk, one of your employees, is working at 2 o'clock in the morning. And that's super weird because Anne Funderburk never works at 2 in the morning. We can identify that behavior as a number. We can give it a number that represents how weird that is. Maybe that number is 15 as an example. Now, if we just stopped here, let's face it, this could easily be a false positive. Maybe Anne Funderburk has a big deadline that's due tomorrow, and so she's burning the midnight oil. So this could be really important, but it could also easily be a false positive. But let's suppose we also know that Anne Funderburk's account is VPNing in from China, and she doesn't normally do that, right? We've learned using machine learning that Anne Funderburk is not on the Chinese Salesforce, right? So this is truly an unusual location for her account. And let's also suppose that we know that Anne Funderburk's account is accessing a combination of file shares that is unusual for her or for her peers. And let's suppose she's accessing that file share an unusual number of times, and so on and so forth. So in other words, the more of these behaviors happen to the same thing, Anne Funderburk's account in this particular example, the less this starts to feel like a false positive, and the more this starts to feel like someone that's really important to investigate. And that's exactly what's happening here, right? So we have math that is looking for multiple behaviors and looking for things that coincide in the same time frame on the same entity, and that's how we can find Waldo. And that really is the secret. So step one, quantify normal behavior. Step two, subtract it from current behavior. Step three, take those multiple abnormal behaviors and stack them together. And that's exactly how you can surf in all the noise, in all the alerts, in all the data, to look at exactly where to look. This really works. This is my third example. Again, these are all real examples. So we had a customer in the healthcare system. There's a very sophisticated account that was compromised. So there was a guy on the outside, compromised the account on the inside, and there was both a number of sort of very sophisticated attacks launched against employees. So this became an insider threat attack, including watering hole attacks, including SIM swapping attacks against C-suite executives. Again, we found it because we were able to sort of apply the approach that I just outlined in a number of behaviors that were all automatically detected. I've listed some of the models that sort of trigger on the right-hand column here, just so you can get an understanding of the types of things that TDR can detect. So it can look for and identify unusual applications that are not unusual for the company, but unusual for that particular account or to run on that particular machine. That specificity is really important to avoid noise. Looking for unusual locations, someone coming in from China and they normally aren't, someone coming in from the US and they normally don't. Looking for impossible journey, multiple IP addresses in the same time frame, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to read it out to you, but we have hundreds of different models that are all looking for behaviors across different vectors, across different types of accounts and machines. Okay? This truly is a different approach. There's a number of vendors out there that sort of use the similar language, but I do want to sort of call out some of the things that are truly uniquely different about our approach. So instead of rules and thresholds, there's absolutely zero reliance in our approach on rules and thresholds. So there's no definition phase where you have to go in and define a bunch of rules, right? Basically, all of our machine learning rules sort of run unsupervised. You don't need to feed it labels. You don't need to sort of train it. It sort of learns on the fly inside your environment. And again, that's really important for accuracy, right? If you take someone else's models that has been trained on someone else's company or someone else's data, and you sort of plug it in your environment, that's going to just generate a bunch of noise for you to correct afterwards. We do support multiple types of data feeds. I'm going to talk very specifically about how we've optimized it with partnership with Microsoft on top of the Microsoft stack. But you recognize that there are sort of multiple types of data. And sometimes it's really important to be able to sort of correlate across endpoint data with your identity data as one example. That gives you a bigger picture, a more accurate picture. Our math is very, very solid. Again, I don't have time to talk about the underlying statistics, but I'm very proud of the principled approach that we've taken. There's essentially hundreds of years of research that have been sort of put into the statistical methods that we have applied. There's a white paper that is quite comprehensive that I'll point you to afterwards that sort of can describe those mathematical approaches very precisely for your data science team for them to review. We do like the predictive nature of our product, and we think it's truly game changing. This is not a forensic system where we're trying to sort of look at something that happened in the past. We really are trying to catch the bad guys before it's too late. And I said earlier, we're so happy and proud to have partnered with Microsoft on building a truly optimized version of TDR that is focused on the Microsoft stack. We focus on the Microsoft stack so we can take advantage of Entra ID for identity data and MS Defender for endpoint data, two of the most critical data sources that gets us the right data to our models so we can find the bad guy before it's too late. In addition, we have integrated all of our analytics with Security Copilot. So if you're already using Security Copilot, you can take advantage of all of our detections, all of our risk scores, all of our models, because that data is available to you in your existing workflow if you're a Security Copilot user, right? So that power is really a fantastic example of how we're being better together with Microsoft Security. And this is really something that we think will sort of help you save time, right? The name of the game is time to value, being able to be faster than the bad guy and being able to be more efficient than the bad guy. So we are proud of how our customers tell us a couple of things. Our customers tell us that we do an amazing job on not wasting their time. We are proud that we are able to sort of take your teams and help them be more efficient than ever before. We're proud of our detection rate on red team attacks, right? Now, keep in mind, a red team attack, when they do their job right, they are trying to simulate some of the most sophisticated attacks in the world. And I'm so proud that so far, over the multiple years we've had customers running our detection engines, we've been able to find over 80% of all red team attacks. And that is something that is, I think, a statistic that very few companies can claim, right? And again, this is all because we have what I think is a truly unique approach to this particular problem. What I'd love to do now is give you a quick demo. I'm not going to be able to sort of give you a full end-to-end demo. We don't have enough time for that. But what I'd like to do is just show you an example of the types of detection capabilities that we have when we have OpenText threat detection response, TDR, deployed on top of the Microsoft stack to show you how we can sort of find things no matter how subtle they are. I'll show you our use of AI to be able to generate very sort of easy to understand, human readable summaries of what's been going on. And hopefully you'll get the confidence that you need to sort of understand how we're different and how we might be able to sort of potentially help you stay ahead of the game. So with that, let me just cut to the demo. Okay, so what you see here is the main data feeds screen. And as you can see at the top, I'm showing you that same sort of compression that I talked about earlier. So in this particular demo system, we've got over 30 million events. And you can see that compression of being able to sort of run the analytics so we can tell you the 24 most risky things for you to pay attention to. So it's almost like a leaderboard of risk, right? So instead of having to sort of comb through, hundreds of thousands or even millions of alerts, that's not humanly possible, right? We've let the machines do the work. It's going to tell you sort of exactly where to look. And if I sort of summarize the data source here, if I sort of scroll down, you can see the data sources here. We've got sort of two main ones here. We've got Defender for endpoint. That's giving us some nice EDR data for the math to chew on. We've got identity data from Entra ID, and those are the two data sources that I mentioned earlier that we've optimized, obviously, for the Microsoft stack. Okay? There are a number of sort of risky IPs and risky users that you can sort of see here. Let me just zoom in on the actual analytical results. So if I go to this particular page here, you see a nice visualization on all the data. There's a lot here. So immediately what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the organizational summary. And that shows a nice sort of AI generated summary of exactly what's going on. So it's very human readable. This is also generated through our large language models and some of the technology that we've done to sort of not only take all of the data that you see here, but also present it in the context of what a security professional might be able to do. So not just give you a summary, but also give you some sort of actionable recommendations, things that you can sort of take away and do right away to improve your security posture. And if I look at sort of the bottom section here under the sort of very first actionable recommendation, you can see that it's saying that, you know what, you should take a look at Bruce Wright, right? Because he's doing something that looks like insider threat, that looks like potential data exfiltration, and you should take a closer look. And if I sort of move from this particular screen and look at the top risky users section over here, you can see that indeed, Bruce Wright really is the highest risk user in the system, right? He's got a risk score of 100. So I'm going to click on Bruce Wright. And again, I'm going to see a nice sort of AI generated summary of Bruce Wright, what's been happening, the behaviors that you should sort of think about. And not only that, but I love this section right here at the bottom, where we are not only sort of telling you the MITRE attack techniques that are sort of relevant to this particular case, we're actually explaining these particular MITRE attack techniques in the context of the real story, the real analytics, the real actions that Bruce Wright is engaging with. Why is this important? It's because, as you know, sometimes it's hard to keep up with what's happening in the world of MITRE attack. It's always evolving, it's always improving, and sometimes you might not have as sophisticated or as educated people running your SOC as much as possible. So this is just a fantastic educational tool to be able to help your human team sort of keep up with what's happening in the world of attacks through MITRE. So obviously, I want to sort of dig in further. I see there's references to running WinZip and ESIS and an huge amount of data. Of course, the analytics works by sort of learning what normal looks like. Remember the three-step algorithm that we have to be able to sort of detect when something's abnormal. I'm just clicking on the working hours tab to sort of show you a quick example of some of the things that it can learn. It has learned the normal working hours of Bruce Wright so that when it sees activity at an unusual time, for example, if we saw something happen at 2 o'clock, you can see that that's in the black area in this particular screen. So that is truly unusual. I'm going to click on filter on entity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter everything that you see on the screen just on Bruce Wright. And so what that means is that all the alerts that you see in the bottom right-hand corner, they are actually specific to Bruce Wright. And you can see, for example, the very first one is saying that, hey, it's unusual for Bruce Wright to sort of work at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's unusual based on this past. So very simple example of some of the types of models that we have. I actually want to show you some more interesting examples. So I'm going to filter on the fire flag to really show you some of the smoking gun activities that Bruce Wright has been engaging with. So here's one where there seems to be an unusual number of write activity. I can click on that and get a little bit more detail. You can see there's a really nice visualization that really sort of highlights to me visually how unusual this particular amount of write activity is. That's a really big blue bar compared to the others. Of course, I can get more information by clicking on the Explore events, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to show you some other examples here. Here's one, which is what we call a behavioral threat indicator. These are basically packages of multiple models together. So it's not just one model. In this case, it's 4 models that are all sort of fired simultaneously to show you that this really is an example of transferring data from a system or network onto a portable storage device. You can see that there are a number of things that were sort of detected automatically by the analytics that sort of triggered this particular BTI, and so on and so forth, right? I'm going to show you, I think, one more here. So I'm going to scroll down here. And here's one around the ESIS process, very unusual process. And the visualization here hopefully it gives you a sense of how sophisticated some of the models are. So in this case, this process was detected as a rare or unusual process for this particular user. But as you can see here, we get information around processes, parent processes, grandparent processes, because sometimes you have sort of chains of processes where a process launches another process, which then launches a DLL. Any one of them could be unusual, especially in the context of a sophisticated attack or malware. Living off the land attacks sort of apply this technique all the time. So you want to be able to get very sophisticated with some of the models, and this is a nice example. If you read the AI generated summary, it actually calls out that this particular process, ESIS, is the ESIS partition master. Now, that's a clue. This is partition management software. Now, I want you to sort of cast your mind back to the very first example I talked about at the beginning of this call. I talked about someone that was very creative. Instead of using standard file copies, what he did was he used a partitioning tool to be able to exfiltrate a number of financial and HR records to the USB drive. By us detecting it, we were able to sort of find the bad guy and detect it before it was too late. So I'm thrilled to sort of share with you sort of the climax for me of this demo. And it's the fact that this is not really a demo. Right? This is not demo data. This is not fake data. This is a real story that actually happened from one of our customers. So I'm showing you the models. Of course, I've changed the name. It's not really Bruce Wright. Of course, I want to sort of protect the innocent, but everything that I'm showing you is actually real. We've just anonymized the data. So I love that. I love that I'm able to give you a demo showing the product in action, but on something that actually happened in real life, and we were able to stop the bad thing before it was too late. All right, so that was the demo. And obviously, I'm really sort of proud of this product. I hope you're intrigued to find out more. So I've just got some steps for you. If you want to learn more, I don't know of anyone that actually includes links in presentations anymore. You might just do a web search. So if you search on OpenText core threat detection and response, you'll find a number of things that you can use to sort of learn more about this amazing product that I'm so proud of. There are some case studies, including some of the case studies that I've shown here. There's some demo videos that dive a little bit deeper. There's a white paper on the statistical methods that I've described earlier. I'm very sort of proud of the math, but I'm also very open about math, right? I think being transparent about the actual techniques that we use, including the algorithms and the equations, is the right way to sort of earn your trust, right? So please take a look, read about our methods. This is also proudly, because of our Microsoft partnership, available for you to try out in the Azure Marketplace. So if you sort of search for OpenText Core Threat Detection and Response in the Azure Marketplace, you'll find it there. Of course, you're more than welcome to contact OpenText as well. We're happy to schedule follow-up calls, a private demo, POC, whatever you'd like. And obviously, you can email us for that page. There's contact forms, and there's also phone numbers here. Thank you so much for your time. I'm super excited about core threat detection response, and I hope you are as well.